I'm Lucinda Wood, and I'd like to give you a short tour of my Blooming in the Rain show, which is at Main Street Artist Gallery for the month of November. This is Rock Creek Rapids, which I painted sitting on a rock, watching the water move. I like to paint in person when I do moving water because that way you get to see the motion. You see a photograph, you get one position. And I like to watch what happens and and choose the wonderful moment when the wave kicks up. And thankfully, rapids tend to be cyclical, so I wait for that to happen again, and I try to remember it and paint from my memory. So all of this part I did sitting on that rock. This is Swimming Hole, North Fork Yuba River. My husband and I were camping above the river, and we started down towards the river, and there was a huge black bear in our path, so we diverted and went a different way, and that's how I found this swimming hole. This is Carried Away, Trinity River. The Trinity River has such a gorgeous turquoise color and teal. Loved painting this. I sat on another fin of rock that looked much like these to paint this on a river trip with my family. This is Canyon on the Big Hole River in Montana. Again, my husband was fishing, and I got to dash down and see his fish and come back up and paint. Here he is. I actually put him in this painting, fishing the Big Hole River on a kind of a rainier day. I had to paint faster for this because there were gaps between the rain, and I caught one, and that's why there's like little white business cracks here and there, because I was trying to not let things bleed together. It's a different feel. And this is my favorite show of the painting. A friend of mine, Vicki Shea, asked if I would do a dogwood painting for her. And we hiked together and looked at how the sun was pouring through these young leaves and lighting up the forest with these beautiful white flowers. I took this photo along Big Creek Road and painted this one indoors, obviously. And it was one of those days that there was sun and then rain back and forth, so that's why there's so many raindrops on the water, on the petals, and on the leaves. And I just love how the flowers open up to the sun and soak in that sunlight, and it reminds me to do much the same, open my heart towards the one who made me, who is the giver of life and love and warmth, and it just makes me smile. This is beside the Bitterroot River. This is a little side channel of the Bitterroot, which is an enormous river. And I just loved how the light was spotlighting that little area of willows. Got my attention. This is one of my pear trees. This is called Bartlett Pear After the Bear. 2 years ago, a bear came and stripped most of our pear trees of limbs, and I was impressed 2 years later that this was producing so many flowers and in such a graceful way with these arcs of limbs. Spare beauty that reminds me of bonsai, which comes through difficulties. Wouldn't have had that grace if it hadn't gone through that. Mm-hmm. This is Eureka Lake, which I hiked up to a mile and a half, and I got to see all sorts of bird life while painting this, a bald eagle, osprey, even snow geese. And the first week I painted here, it snowed on me, and the second week it was warmer and I swam. So that's Quincy for you. This is Balancing Act, Rock Creek, Montana. Another of my Trout Streams of Montana series. This is Flight of Flurries and Fog. There's a view from Gansner Park, which is right near where I live. The fog tends to do these wonderful, playful things in the winter when we get moisture. Down here we have Drawings in the Sky 3. This is a Valley Oak sketch I did near Berkeley. Just love how quirky those limbs are. They just have this wonderful habit of changing directions constantly. Up here we have two paintings I did on location of another moving subject, clouds. And it's a little like painting water. in motion, except that they change and go away. So I have to mix my paint, get it all ready, and then compose it and just wing it. And as the cloud changes, I just flow with it. This here is Shooting Star 2, and I painted this from flowers in my backyard. And here's an example of the research I did, trying to get the pigments right. This is a young flower, and then when they get older, they get more purple. And then I did the drawing outside, and I painted indoors for this because the flowers are only about 4 inches tall, or maybe 6. So you have to pretty much lie down to see them the right way, so I had to do this indoors. Okay. This is Long Lake Calm. Again, my husband was going to fish, and he invited me to come. First thing in the morning, this lake was just glass. So it was almost a mirror image. I thought that was so beautiful how the geometric rocks were reflected. So I painted this part on location, and the rest I did from my photo of the still water, which tends to go away pretty fast in the morning. Then when the wind picks up, it gets all ripply. This is Winter and Spring Embrace, Claremont through Manzanita. Manzanita grow on the hill behind my house. I just love the way their color relates to the blue of Claremont Peak behind. And of course we have winter up there with the snow and spring here. This is Treasure Falls, Feather River Canyon. My daughter Sylvia and I drove down after 3 days of rain to see the waterfalls and paint. And this is one of those wonderful falls that you only see after rain, but boy, we loved it. This is Blooming Amidst the Roar, Spanish Creek. And my favorite part of this is these Indian rhubarb, which bloom in the midst of snowmelt current, which is amazing. I mean, you and I wouldn't be able to stand in that, and that they're blooming there. And I think our Creator is so generous. You see this sparkling, dazzling cascade, and he thinks, let's throw in some flowers too. And the physics of it is just puzzling. Like, how do they manage to stand in all that flow? If you see them at low water, they have very strong roots which just grab the boulders that are attached to the bedrock, and that's how they manage to stand. And you know, sometimes they move a little bit, but they're flourishing in the midst of this. And it reminds me to find my security in something that isn't going to go away, in things or, you know, things that would pass away. So if my security is in my Maker and in His love, that's something no one can take from me, and it gives me peace. This is Crystal Cascade, which was painted with, I was actually painting with Graham, who's helping me film this, along the Cascade Trail. And after we were done painting, we went and swam in that wonderful pool. We'd sort of start here and flow out, and it pushes you right across the swimming pool. And this is also along the Cascade Trail. This is called Wild Waters. A little bit more close up. One of the fun features here are the ducks that, I've forgotten their name, the mergansers that we saw. We saw, actually, go back up to this one, we saw a bunch of merganser ducklings go up that cascade, which was amazing. And my daughter, who was painting upstream while I was painting this one, saw a set of mergansers ride the cascade down and then dash back up and do it again and again. So animals like to have fun too. I just think that's great. This is early snow, Thompson Lake. These little blue patches here are snow, which fell right in autumn. And I loved how these aspens and their reflections stood out against that dark water in the dark forest. I also like the reflection of this geometry here. I believe there was a very busy beaver working on those aspens. This is Maidenhair Falls, and I painted this one almost entirely on location which meant that I got to sit by a waterfall day after day, and it was always cool there, no matter how hot it was in the summer, because of the mist and the shadiness of that beautiful spot. This is Borderlands, Mount Ashland from the Klamath River. My son went to college up in Ashland, so my husband and he were fishing this river, and my daughter and I were painting. And this is, I just loved how the light caught this barn. This is my last piece, Trinity Range in Nevada. This range is a little southeast of Pyramid Lake, and I love Nevada mountains when they're covered with snow. They just look like sculptures and a study of blue and white. Yeah, it's kind of fun to work in a totally different palette with the grasses on the snow and I think it's called greasewood. Thank you for coming to visit my show. Hope you enjoyed it.